The very last thing we're going to talk about is communicating on Twitter. We're going to look at trending hashtags, using trending hashtags, tagging and mentions, direct messaging, and retweeting information. So I want to start on our homepage. So this is me just signing into Twitter. We should be used to doing that by now. And what you'll see directly under the synopsis of my Twitter account are the trends. What is currently being used most? What has the most activity right now on Twitter? And you'll see all of these right here. And if I click on any one of these, it will bring me to what I'm used to seeing when I search. But this is a trending hashtag. So in order to become active quickly on Twitter, it's important to use hashtags that are trending or hashtags that other people are using so that your information begins to collect under the same hashtag. So EdCamp Foundation is trending right now, and it's a pretty big account for Twitter. It has multiple people tweeting for it. So one thing is if you participate in EdCamp, or if you know anything about it, to join this conversation by using the EdCamp Dream Big hashtag in one of your tweets. Also, what you could do is start a conversation with an EdCamp Dream Big hashtag through mentions, quotes, and retweets. So I just really want to quickly show you how to participate in these trending hashtags. So the first thing I did was I clicked on the trending hashtag. The next thing I did was move from top tweets to what's happening live, and I'm going to read through and see if there's a conversation I can have using the tweets that are happening. So right here under EdCamp Dream Big, there are a lot of images that are sort of talking about how to work with pre-service teachers, which is something that I have experience in. So I probably want to look at one of these photos. What I see in this photo is that it's been retweeted once. So what I can do is I can click on this photo, look at it, and say, well, that's something that I think could be really useful, or that's something that I really like and want to save. So I can favorite it. So now my favorite in my newsfeed, like you remember, will come up and it will say that I have favorited this under this trending hashtag. So I become part of the conversation that's happening there. I can also reply to what the individual Twitter user is saying about this. She's asking a question. How do we reach out to practicing and pre-service teachers that haven't heard of EdCamp? I can reply and say, when you notice when I reply, the Twitter handle, the mention comes in the beginning to say I'm replying to something you're saying. I think Twitter is a great place to start. And then what if I had another resource? What if I blogged on something? I could say, have you heard about, and then put a link to a blog. Put a link to a conference, something to really engage in this conversation. And then I'll tweet to that person. So that has started a conversation. I have mentioned them in a tweet by replying. And then also because I like this so much, I favorited it, I want to retweet it. And when I press this button, it allows me to retweet this to my followers. And I can retweet by saying something like, this is a great graphic. And then someone I think that might be interested in joining this conversation that works a lot with pre-service teachers, I could at the end of the tweet mention them. So not the beginning of the tweet like I'm having a conversation with them, but the end of the tweet mention them. Sorry. And then tweet. So I'm part of that conversation by favoriting it. I'm part of that conversation by retweeting it and mentioning one of my Twitter followers at the end of it, and also by replying to their question. So in that, I've communicated through a trending hashtag in 3 different ways. I've replied to the question, which is a direct tweet to another Twitter user. I've retweeted and added one of my Twitter followers in a mention saying, I think you might be interested in this graphic. And then I've also favorited. I've stored this as an image that I think I can use again in my own Twitter resource bank. So that's communication overall, just under this one image, under this one trending hashtag. So that I start to become really active. I start working with people who are already using Twitter. I'll show you again. So that was for trending hashtags. That's how to start the conversation with people who are using it. But there are hashtags that are popular but just not trending at the moment. And one of them is ArtEd. These are top, but I'm going to go to live tweets about art education. And I'm going to read. I'm going to see if there's anything I have to say, anything that interests me. And you'll see a lot of what we just did is happening in here. So this Global Oneness project is talking about creativity, which happens to be a big interest of mine. The quote says, the most authentic thing about us is our capacity to create. I really love that quote. And then what they did is they linked an article. So I want to see what that article is all about. Ooh, it's a creative process lesson plan. So I look through this, see it has some standards linked to it, and if I think that this is something worth using, I can share it out with my Twitter followers. And if I think that this is something worth using, again, what I can do is I can tell them, go project, thank you, or if I have more characters than I need, I just say TY for the great resource. And that is a reply to what they tweeted. I can also retweet this and say, look at the great creativity resource. And then since this already uses the hashtag ArtEd, I may want to use the hashtag creativity. And I may want to use the hashtag Maine Arts Leadership Initiative 15 because I know a lot of people are discussing creativity on that. So now I'm taking their tweet and I'm sort of crafting it into my own. Then I could also mention people who I know may be interested in this tweet. Not at the beginning, because that would be if I was replying to their tweet, but at the end I want to mention them. I want to say this may be something that you're also interested in. And then I can tweet that. So what that retweet looks like, so now I have quoted or retweeted Global Oneness Project's tweet. I've added my own hashtags to it and engaged the conversation further with my own colleagues under my own hashtags. And what I can also see is that I'm now part of the retweets and my conversation is also stored under theirs. So you really start to have this open communication, and that's what Twitter is all about.